Ron Barron predicts Tesla stock will be worth $4.5 trillion by 2030. Sheesh! He also believes that the stock price could be worth around $500 to $600 by 2025, which is less than 3 years away. Sheesh again. And as you guys know already, I'm going all in into Tesla stock. So this news is great news for me and for you as well if you're a heavy Tesla stock investor too. In this video, we're going to look at how Ron Barron's 2030 stock price prediction of $4.5 trillion is calculated, how he's thinking, how he's predicting this number could happen. So enough chit chatting, let's get down to the video. If you guys want to support this channel, you guys can become a member of this channel and you guys can get some cool merch, go all in merch here. Check him out. Don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't already, man. Let's go. So here's an article from Markets Insider, published on November 4th, 2022. Billionaire investor Ron Barron outlines how Tesla could soar 570% over the next decade to a $4.5 trillion valuation. So let's go see what Ron Barron's thinking. By the way, guys, the link of this article is below. I'm just going to skip to the juicy part. He says that I think in 2025, Tesla stock will be $500 to $600 per share. Right now, the stock is below 200 bucks right now at the time of recording this video. So that's like a 2.5 to 3x from now. So, I mean, sheesh. He also says that in about 8 to 10 years, we ought to be somewhere around $4.5 trillion. So literally, it's like a 7 to 8x. That's what he's predicting. It gets more crazier. Check this out. The math behind Barron's bullish valuation target is solely predicted on Tesla significantly scaling its business over the next decade, selling about 20 million cars per year. Tesla is on track to sell just over 1 million vehicles. Come on, man, just over 1 million. It's at least 1.3 million, at least. And that's not just over 1 million. Just over 1 million is like, 1,050,000. Below 1.1 million is just about 1 million. But doing 1.3 million plus, that's not just about, man. Sheesh, that's bearish language right there. But anyways, let's keep going forward. It gets juicier. He says that in 2030, if he or Tesla does 20 million cars per year and they're $50,000 a car, that's a $1 trillion in revenue. And he gets operating profits at somewhere around 30%. So 30% of 1 trillion is $300 billion profit. Just cars. Just cars. All right? Just cars. Adding that a 15 multiple, meaning a 15 PE, on those 300 billion in operating profits get you a $4.5 trillion valuation. That's just insane. But in my humble opinion, I don't think we're gonna hit 20 million vehicles by 2030. And I'm a Tesla bull. Hey, don't hate on me, man. I'm just trying to be honest and be straight up. I do think eventually they will do 20 million, but maybe not at 2030. Maybe by 2032, 2033, 2034. 20 million by 2030, even I will be impressed. So let's look at the last thing, which is the most juiciest part of it, the last paragraph, and I think it validates how crazy this prediction is. Ron Barron says, but that's not including robots, not including autonomous vehicles, FSD. That's not including batteries. He, or Musk, thinks robots are going to be bigger than cars. So there's so many things happening at Tesla, it's hard to keep up, and he is right. But let's just cut this paragraph a little short. Let's just go to the part where it says, no bots, no FSD, and no batteries. It's just cars. 4.5 trillion valuation by 2030. Just cars. Imagine when you add everything else in. By the way, I did the math. You can check the video over here. But that's insane. That's insane. A 7 to 8x from now, from the current stock price now, just vehicles alone. That deserves a sheesh. I mean, that's insane, dude. That's absolutely insane. And that's one of the main reasons why I'm all in Tesla. People just don't understand. But anyways, let's go to the chart and let's see how it looks like year after year all the way to 2030. But first, let's go ahead and look backwards. Starting from 2030 and starting from you, smash that like button. All right, let's move on. So as you guys can see, 2030, 20 million vehicles delivered at a price of 50,000 each. Gives you a 1 trillion revenue with an OP margin of 30%. That's 300 billion in net income or profits. We have a shares outstanding at 4.5 billion, which right now it's just almost hitting 3.2 billion. So the dilution that from now till then, Ron Barron is saying that they're still going to continue diluting. And even when they continue diluting, you're going to be 7-8xing your money. That's absolutely insane. But let's keep going forward. That's an EPS of almost $67. I'm surprised it's not 69. And with a PE of 15, we get a stock price of $1,000 per share. and a market cap at $4.5 trillion. That's what he's saying. So he's saying $1,000 per share by 2030. Now that's interesting because if the stock price is around, let's say $200 per share, that's only a 5x from now to 2030, not 7 or 8x. But if you look at the valuation of the company from 700 billion all the way to 4.5 trillion, that's about 7x, 7.5x. So while the valuation is 7xing, the stock price is only 5xing. Why is that? Well, it's simple. Shares outstanding. Ron Baron is saying that they're still going to dilute. I mean, he's predicting that they will continue to dilute, which most likely by, I'll say 2024, 2025 max, we can expect heavy buybacks. The only person who I can see selling in Tesla is Elon. Probably is going to buy out another company in the next 3, 4, 5 years. Who knows? It's Elon. But other than that, I do see that Tesla doing a lot of buybacks by 2024, 2025, that I think by 2026, 2027, we're going to see a decline in shares outstanding. And here's what I mean. Let me just expand this from 2030 all the way to 2022. But as you guys can see from shares outstanding, almost 3.2 billion all the way to almost 4.5 billion. That's about almost a 5% year-over-year dilution in Tesla stock. But again, buybacks in a few years' time, I highly doubt we'll reach these percentage points. In fact, we'll probably see negative. In worst case scenario, we will most likely see it in the 1 or 2%, and that's the max. But let's continue with this, and let's say they're going to continue diluting every year about like 5%, and we do get about $4.5 billion in shares outstanding by 2030. But as you guys can see in 2022, 1.3 million cars delivered. We get about almost $13 billion in net income. 2023, 60% increase, because I really do believe that in 2023, if there's no shutdowns, if there's no lockdowns in Shanghai, which most likely I'm pretty sure sometime next year there will be some sort of a lockdown. I mean, the COVID policy in China is just, you know, it's stupid. It really is. But we're going to take in the risk factor here. But in 2023, I didn't add that. I didn't add this risk factor. And if they don't do lockdowns, we can see a 60% growth in 2023. Easily. And then 2024, 50%, 2025, another 50%, and then 40%, 2026 to 2027, and then 35%, and 30%, 2029, and then, you know, I just capped it at 20 million by 2030. For each vehicle, I left it at 50,000 every single year, which most likely that's not really realistic. To keep it very simple, I said by 2030, if they do 20 million vehicles, the price can't be around 50,000 per vehicle. Most likely it has to be around 30. And if we do that, we get a total revenue of 600 billion with the opening margin of 30%, net income of 180 billion, and a PE of 15. That's what Ron Baron's saying by 2030. That's about $600 per share, or $2.7 trillion just vehicles alone, which I think this looks more realistic just for the vehicles alone, nothing else. We'll get to that in a bit. Let's go back to see what Ron Baron is thinking. Well, we kind of figure out what he is thinking. Let's figure out what the stock price would be and what the PEs will be based on his own prediction, because he did say by 2025 the stock price could be between 500 or 600. So 2022, if they do around almost $13 billion in net income, which most likely they will, I say a PE of 60 is reasonable. Right now the PE is around 62 or 63. Most likely it'll range between 55 and 65. So let's put a PE of 60. That's about a market cap of over $700 billion and a stock price of $240. Again, the stock price, I think the PE should be a lot higher, but because of the market sentiment and the macro environment, PE is going to get crushed, especially when the Fed's increasing rates and doing a lot of quantitative tightening. Of course, all PEs are going to shrink. It's just part of the nature of a financial market. That's how it works. But a PE of 60, 240, and a PE of 55, around 220. What I think should be is a PE of 75 at a market cap of almost reaching 1 trillion and a stock price of $300 per share. But most likely, we're going to get a stock price between 55 PE of 220 all the way to 65 to 260. That's why I say an average of 240 of a PE of 60. Comment down below if you guys agree. That's where we're going to end off by end of the year, or 2022 when Q4 comes out in the third week of January 2023. Now, speaking of 2023, I put a PE of about 50 here. I think that's fair. I think a PE of 50 is fair because overall, you know, a net income of almost $23 billion. We get a stock price of $344 and a market cap over $1.1 trillion. Nice. In 2024, I put a PE of 43 and we get a stock price of $434 and a market cap almost reaching $1.5 trillion. In 2025, I put a PE of 37 and we get a stock price of $549 and a market cap almost reaching $2 trillion. And there we go. There you have it. Ron Baron is saying in 2025, stock price could be around 500 to 600. Well, that's 550 smack in the middle with a PE of 37. In 2026, I put a PE of 32, which gives a stock price of 682 with a market cap over $2.5 trillion. 2027 with a PE of 27, and we get a stock price of $816 and a market cap over $3 trillion, actually over $3.2 trillion. Sheesh. In 2028, I put a PE of 20 and we get a stock price of $843, market cap almost reaching $3.5 trillion. In 2029, a PE of 18, $979 per share, market cap over 4.2 trillion. And 2030, Ron Barron's saying 15 PE, we get a stock price of $1,000 per share and a market cap $4.5 trillion. So that's how it looks like. That's what he's thinking. Now, obviously, it may come true, it may not come true. It's just a prediction and a prediction only. So take all this with a grain of salt. Take what he's saying with a grain of salt. Again, I personally don't believe that every car is going to sell at $50,000 at a high volume of 20 million vehicles a year. That's more closely towards 35,000 max. 30,000 to 35,000 max. 50,000 vehicles would be realistic if FSD was probably included as well. But here he's just saying no FSD, no batteries, no energy, no robots, nothing, just vehicles alone. So that's why I say it's a little bit unrealistic. But let's be more bullish and let's add the FSD on top of this and let's see what happens. Smash that like button if you're ready. Let's go. Let's go ahead and unhide the FSD rows. And yes, you're right. I'm predicting that by 2030, an FSD one-time fee of about almost $30,000. I mean, we went from $8,000 in 2020. Right now it's worth $15,000. It doubled within like 2 years. I'm saying it's going to double within end of the decade. So I think that's being conservative. Anywho, I'm going to say 15% of all new vehicles sold are going to have FSD. We don't have any subscription base yet. Until that comes out, we're going to keep it like this, 15% conversion rate, even though it should be 30% or 33%. We're going to say 15%. And right off the bat, $240 in 2022 changes to $272 per share. But anywho, let's drag it all the way to 2030. So it's $1,000 per share, around 4.5 trillion. Let's go ahead and release it. $1,267 per share and a market cap $5.7 trillion if you add the FSD, which is just absolutely crazy. It's insane. Sheesh. And again, we're not adding any robots or batteries or anything like that. It's just the FSD and the vehicles of 5.7 trillion. If you remove the FSD, let's go ahead and remove it. $1,000, 4.5 trillion, like Ron Barron is predicting. But if we add it, $12.67 per share and a market cap over $5.7 trillion. Sheesh. That's insane. That's absolutely insane. Now, realistically, again, reducing the average selling price to 30,000, this looks more realistic to me, around $867 per share, almost heading for trillion FSD and vehicles alone if they do 20 million vehicles. Again, $50,000 per vehicle at 20 million scale just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It makes sense if the vehicle is cheap, 30,000, 35,000. It's competitive that everyone can afford. So this makes more sense to me. But Ron Barron is saying $1,000 per share, $4.5 trillion just vehicles alone. Sheesh. I hope that becomes true. I really do. I mean, if that becomes true, then we can finally retire. But stock price may be worth more than this $1,000 per share if you add everything together. And I made a video already right here, 2030, that includes everything: FSD, robots, energy, Tesla insurance, vehicles, and other stuff that I just can't remember. Check it out. You're gonna be shocked what the stock price will be, because I was like, sheesh, crazy. But check it out. Don't forget to check out some merch, guys, and don't forget to subscribe, and I shall see you guys in the next video. See ya.